On that day, Jeff Skiles was taking the plane off, correct? And
Yes.
then immediately when the birds hit, you took control. That's standard operating procedure, but that's also your responsibility as the leader of that crew, correct? And that is the protocol.
Well, actually, Jeff tells a funny story about that one particular part of it. Jeff is a great pilot, and the fact that I took control has nothing to do with any lack of confidence in his skill or ability. In spite of my best efforts for over 3.5 years now, Jeff Skiles hasn't gotten the due that he deserves. Many of the crew and first responders haven't gotten as much recognition as I have. That's just the way the world works, the way the media works. And so when Jeff talks to audiences about this flight, he says, I deserve some recognition too. After all, I'm the one who flew the airplane into the birds and made Sully the hero he is today. So
it's a good line.
But what many people don't know about that situation is that even though Jeff is highly experienced, he has 20,000 hours of flying time like I do, and he'd been a captain in the Boeing 737 before the last round of cutbacks forced him into the right seat of the Airbus. This was his first trip on the Airbus after he'd been trained on it. And so one of the reasons I chose to fly is that I knew from my safety work that one of the best predictors of an outcome in any emergency is what we call time and type. How much time do you have in that particular kind of airplane? How well do you know it inside out, all its systems, all its idiosyncrasies, all its nuances? And I've been on the Airbus about 5.5, almost 6 years. I had about 5,000 hours in the airplane. And Jeff was brand new on it, even though he'd flown many other airplanes before. So for that reason, and the fact that all my options lay to my left, and I could see them out my left windows, and if Jeff were to continue to fly, he'd have to look across the cockpit beyond me and couldn't see as far back as I could. That and several others, it made sense for me to fly.
But these are decisions you made in an instant. That's a lot to process in an instant.
There were a lot of choices to make. I mean, if we were to go over that flight again, it would, and I've done this many times, so I know it would literally take me about 10 minutes to describe what happened in the first seconds, because of all the things that I didn't have time to consciously think about, but that were in the back of my mind, that were immediately accessible to me, so that helped me frame this decision, frame these choices, because you have to realize that this was a novel and unanticipated event for which we'd never specifically trained. In fact, in our flight simulators, it's not possible to practice a water landing. You can't do it. It's not possible.
Right.
And so the only training that we'd ever gotten for a water landing was a theoretical classroom discussion. So that makes all this more remarkable, because the fact that we got so much so right so quickly under those conditions is a real testament to our skill.
Why is that, given that so many airports are around water? Why wouldn't they be in a simulator?
It's one of those things that's rare. And our training time is so limited, especially now with all the cost cutting. It's down to the absolute rock bottom regulatory requirement of what you have to have. Our time in our annual training every year is so limited. There's not time to practice everything, and they just deemed that wasn't.
It's so unlikely.
It's so unlikely.